These situations happen all the time, especially when you're playing in a playoff game. You bring the motion man down. I think this isn't Bubba. I think it's David Martin. And you're trying to run a crack play. So you're trying to run the crack toss. This was going to be a big part. It ended up being a big staple of the game plan. So we're going to crack down, particularly on the right side. We're going to pull. We're going to lead with Will Henderson. Marco Rivera, the right guard, is going to pull around. But what happens is because of the spacing, we just snapped the ball a little bit too early. Quite frankly, the tight end doesn't get into position, and so they're able to penetrate, knock Marco off, and now they just have numbers. Philadelphia Eagles, Corey Simon and company. Good team. Ike Reese out on the edge. Obviously, the best player on that team was Brian Dawkins. And Brian Dawkins made a ton of plays on this tape, which is actually should have been good for us because that means Amon's getting into the secondary. But really talented group. First big play of the game. I think we had gone 2 and out twice. Chi-Town, Mike McKenzie comes around, gets the sack. I can't share who falls on this Grady. Can't be somebody. Well, not Grady. Grady's not getting on the ground. But this is incredible to me now looking back. So you get the turnover. You're on the plus 40 going in or 41 going in. Every single team in the country is running a play action pass right here and taking a shot play. I mean, every single person, because you take an explosive shot following the turnover. Why? Look at all the bodies that are in the screen right now. You got a one-on-one opportunity up top. Might be single safety high, but look at the amount of people you have available. Pass rush has stopped. I mean, everything you want, you have here. House call for Dirty Bird Robert Ferguson. I think he had two touchdowns in this game. We're feeling pretty good about ourselves. Wanted to show that because this is block party. When you start running TEs in situations like this, so we're trying to get Cletus and Kabir freed up here. Really, you're trying to get Kabir on the underneath look. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles have a really good offensive line, and you can see that they've got decent splits. But Welburn and Trey Thomas are good players. Trey Thomas is one that can take a vertical step, particularly when he sees his 3 technique a little bit wider when he's got, you got your outside foot to your inside foot. I'm talking about spacing from the 3 technique and the offensive tackle. So the chances of them running a successful TE game right here versus just letting Kabir rush, what they're, is, for me, this is what ends up happening in situations like this is it gets gummed up. And as long as Runyon does his job against Campman outside, you just have a ton of opportunity. What they're trying to do is they see Deuce Staley has the opportunity to chip off Kabir in the backfield, and Kabir doesn't want to get chipped. So they start running these games every once in a while to try to take that off. But the reality is a guy like Donovan McNabb, you're giving him all day to throw at me. Look at that pocket. And this team was really, really good at the offensive line. This ends up being a no play because Al Harris does such a good job. But that's a really, really difficult thing for a defensive line to try to create that pressure. And you're putting that pressure on, obviously, the secondary. We see as this game goes on, I didn't highlight too many of them, but as you see as the game goes on, a combination of their offensive line doing a great job against our 4-man pass rush and then Donovan McNabb creating a lot of space with his legs. So we get in our 21 personnel. Will Henderson. We got tight end in motion. And what you see here is you got the good double team and Mike Flanagan gets up on top. Mike and I in this game in particular did a pretty good job against Walker, number 97, being able to get a lot of movement. He wasn't a huge guy necessarily, really strong player, but Mike was able to get up on 53, their middle linebacker here. And then Marco's got the tough block here. You see Tausch pushes out, got the hinge on the backside with Chad. But really, Marco's got a single block with Corey Simon. He just has to stalemate that block. Corey goes out to get in the path of Will Henderson, who's our lead. And sometimes this is what happens with when you run 21 personnel. The fit, because Amon is 3 yards behind Will Henderson. So when Will goes into the B gap to meet his linebacker, Corey's going to push out into the B gap. And now Marco, because he's so good at sustaining blocks, can now just drive. And you create that space between Mike and Marco in the play side A instead of the play side B. So this is a situation where as long as you can get that defensive tackle to commit to a side before Amon has to cut, you're in a great situation. And you can do that oftentimes with a fullback, a lot easier you can do it without. So today's fullback, one of the reasons they're coming back is linebackers don't know how to fit with a fullback in the current NFL. A lot of linebackers don't, I should say. The other thing is it really throws off the defensive line because they're going to go where they feel that pressure. And you feel that pressure with Will Henderson right here. Corey pops out and gets a little bit of him. Now Amon can just come back in. Not a lot of yards there, but you still get something because A, Amon's a great running back, but B, that space opens up because that defensive tackle moves. Now we're getting to our bread and butter, which is our power game, whether we have KB in on this play or not. So this is more of the counter look, which means I'm kicking out the end. David Martin's leading up on the middle linebacker. Great job here by the tight end, creating that lane so David can run through. Look, the kick out block on the, all the stuff I had to do on these plays. It's a hell of a lot of fun, and it's not easy. I mean, this is what I blew my shoulder out on eventually. But that single block on the tight end, whether it was Bubba or Kevin Barry, that's what makes this play. Like, if you don't have that guy, you can't run these plays, right? Or you have to do something different. You have to create a double team. And we didn't have to do that because Bubba was really good at it. And then obviously you could bring in a 350-pound U71 package, and he could just go all day wearing these defensive ends out. So that right there is Bubba Franks. Bubba Franks wore this team out twice, regular season and the playoffs. You see AG gets the Jets on. Always tucking that ball in the left hand, by the way. AG, unbelievable. Brian Dawkins here coming to make the tackle. Boy, Brian was a special player to watch. Got Will Henderson out in the flat. I love when you get the fullback playing outside your Z receiver. When you go to 21 personnel, we put the big dog. Najee Davenport is in the backfield now. And again, you just see we get really good movement here. 94. This is what happens when you're worried about sacks. They're playing nickel. Listen, if you play nickel against us, this is what Amon are always talking about. Like, if you play nickel against us back in the day, so 6 in the box for those who are playing at home. 6 in the box versus our 5 offensive linemen and any running back, Amon, Najee, Tony Fisher. I mean, this is an incredible mismatch for us, in our opinion, right? You should be averaging well over 5 yards a carry every time they put nickel in the box, 6 in the box. It's just not a fair fight. This is how most teams play defense in the NFL right now. Man, I can't imagine how easy it would be because you just see the movement you can get off the ball. They got the double team play side with Mike and I. Marco and Tauscher are backside hinging. Chad's man's going for the sack. He's going to go for the sack every play. All he has to do is just make sure he doesn't curl around this too fast. And all of a sudden you basically get this double team up to the middle linebacker and he's by himself. You got the slot receiver coming inside, trying to dig out that linebacker. And it's just all you can eat. I mean, you got an easy 12-yard carry there. So this is what makes Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre's of the world so incredible, right? This is an off-script play. He's kind of just even looked over. There was no hand signals or anything. There's no, special zipper play or whatnot. He just looked over at Ferguson. And Ferguson, if you watch this, Robert Ferguson thinks he's going to run a hitch and realizes the guy manned up, so he just takes off. This is supposed to be an outside running play to the right. Looks right there. Nope. Just throw it up. It's the playoffs, and he'll do it. We're up 14-0.